entrepreneur, and I'm on a mission to help others become the best version of themselves. So I'd like to welcome you to the Adversity Advantage podcast, where we will help you use obstacles, failures, and setbacks to give you that edge needed for success. I'll be interviewing people from all walks of life on how they overcame trials and turned them into triumphs. So please sit back, relax, and get ready to be absolutely blown away by some of the wisdom and stories you're about to hear. Trent, man, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate you sharing your platform with me, man.
Yeah, and everybody kind of sees you now, and you're one of the most inspirational, motivational, yet humble people there is. Millions of followers, written 2 books. Just all about like helping people become their best self. But what I love about it most is there's a story behind it. And I posted a quote today that said, your past can either be your prison or your purpose. And I know that you and I share very similar, values on that, because you're all about turning pain into purpose. So, walk the audience through a little bit about your journey and how, you turn your darkest moment into being able to be a beacon of light for millions and millions of people.
Yeah, man. So I always tell people the best way to relate to this, because some people might not relate to sports, but the best way to relate to this is picture your everything, your dream as a kid, the thing that you want to do or be, or the things you actually had in your life. And so my everything was sports. My everything was, since I was 4 or 5 years old, baseball, basketball, football, track, all the way up to high school, where I still played basketball, football, and track, and let baseball go, which I probably shouldn't have. But that was my life. That was my identity. That was my significance. And blessed enough, I was able to, be an outstanding athlete in Texas, go to Baylor University on a full scholarship. My career at Baylor went great, all Big 12, and had a chance to get drafted. And my senior year, that was the picture that was painted, especially from my uncle. My uncle coaches in the NFL right now. Been coaching over 30 years. And he's like, hey, man, you have a good chance of going 4th or 5th round. And so I was excited. And to make a long story short, it didn't happen. So draft day, I was waiting, second day at that time, and my name wasn't getting called. And that's like the first moment in my life where I felt like, man, I felt like I wasn't in control. I felt like that I wasn't enough. I started to question my worth and question just as an athlete and just as people in general, entrepreneurs, we often value our worth based upon performance, right? It's always performance-based. And like, okay, if I didn't have this many yards or I'm not running this fast, I must not be good enough. And, that lasted for a short while because I got a call. This is how the process works. If you're a high-priority free agent, meaning that somebody wanted to draft you, but they didn't, your phone's ringing off the hook. So it's like it's like a bidding war. All these teams are calling me, the Cowboys, the Colts, the Reds, all these teams. And my uncle advised me and said, hey, go with the Colts. Don't go with the team that offers you the most money. Go to a place where I know they're going to give you a fair shake. And so at that time it was Coach Dungy. They just won the Super Bowl. So I was like, cool, let me go. And I signed an undrafted free agent deal, which was a very small signing bonus. Probably a few $1,000s. And I had to work my way up. The hard thing about it was there were 2 drafted receivers in front of me. And so at the end of the day, NFL is a business, right? If you're paying somebody $1 million+ as a signing bonus, a first-round pick, you're paying a 5th-round pick some money, you're going to give them all the chance in the world, right, to showcase their opportunity because it's money invested. So that year, my rookie year, I ended up having the greatest preseason or the best preseason out of all rookie receivers. So I was crushing it. I was actually starting on special teams. So I'm going to make the team. Make a long story short, I ended up getting cut. They bring me in. They say, hey, we want to develop you. We have a lot of receivers, Marvin, Reggie, all these guys. And draft, we want to develop you. And there's going to be a good chance in the season somebody's going to get hurt and you're going to be ready. So that's what happened. I got signed as on the practice squad. So I went ahead and bought a car. I went ahead and got my apartment, all these things I got. And within 3 weeks, I got a call. We call it Terrible Tuesday, which now I know what Terrible Tuesday is. At that time, I didn't know. I just thought Tuesday was our off day. And it's a call from a 317 and they told me to come in. I'm like, okay, they must want to give me something. So I'm coming in there smiling and they're like, bring your playbook. I was like, oh, maybe they're adding another install. I was totally oblivious. Make a long story, I guess even longer, is they wanted my playbook because they released me.
Mm.
And so I drive back to Texas, which is a long drive after you get cut, like 14 hours. And I'm
Yeah.
here for a week. And I start to shelter myself. I didn't want to go out because if I'm out in the city, people are going to know it's September. Why are you here? You're supposed to be in Indy. So I sheltered myself in my parents' house. And I was teaching myself really to suppress. And anything you suppress will turn into depression. And 2 weeks later, I get called back. And that's like the story of my whole career, right? I'm gone. I'm back home. I'm back there very unstable. And it's 2008 was my breaking point, being in Seattle. And I just didn't care anymore. I didn't even want to live anymore. The only thing that kept me going was a 3-month-old son at the time, Tristan, that I knew I had to keep living for because he needed his father in his life. And that's kind of what led to rehab time in a short version.
That's amazing, man. I feel like, sometimes when we hit those moments, we think we're down and out and it's over. And we have those thoughts of, what's going to happen, what's going to transpire. And I know for me, like when I was incarcerated, I felt the same thing. It was like my rock bottom moment was like, how am I going to get out of here? I was 50 pounds overweight. I was, at the time I had just gone into jail. I was addicted to drugs before I went in and was selling drugs. Like, how am I going to make it? And for what really helped me was fitness. And that was something that propelled me to kind of get into a different state of mind. I know fitness has been big for you. I mean, fitness teaches you discipline, commitment, gets you comfortable being uncomfortable, all the things I know you talk about. And, 3 words that like run my life these days are faith, family, and fitness. Faith in God, faith in myself, family, who brings the best out of me. It's not always blood. It's whoever like challenges, supports, and loves me unconditionally. And fitness, staying mentally, physically, and spiritually fit. And I know those 3 words are important to you too. So talk a bit about those words in your context and how they helped you kind of like, not only start rehab time, but, kind of catapult your way into the success you've had today.
Yeah, man, starting with faith is the rock. I mean, I was just talking about this the other day on Facebook Live, and I was running, and I just had this thought how a lot of times we undervalue faith, and faith is everything. Like literally, whether it's a spiritual relationship for you with faith or just the word in general, like we are human beings, we operate off of faith. None of us knows what's going to happen a week from now. Like none of us could have planned 2020, right? We just know and we hope that if we do the right things and we show up the right way, this is going to happen. And so I realized like faith, I have to strengthen it. I have to be able to see the unseen. I have to be able to believe that there's something that's going to happen for my life. As I like to put it, there's a door that's going to open for my life that didn't exist yet. And so when I was at my rock bottom, that's what carried me through my relationship and my relationship with God and my faith. And rock bottom changed my life. Like literally, people saying, happiness and positivity, those things are great. But I feel like so many times we are searching for that so much. So if we feel like we're not happy or we feel like we don't have everything going right, our life is going wrong. Rehab time was built. It wasn't built off of happiness. It was built off of pain, off of struggle, off of depression, off of suicidal thoughts. And it was just at rock bottom, I found myself to actually change my life. So faith is everything, man. Faith is the thing that carries me through, the thing that pushes me through. When it comes to family, as you said, it's not just always blood, but family is my accountability. Family is who I do it for, especially my immediate family. The thing that I love to say is that I don't want to be successful to the world and unsuccessful to my family. It doesn't matter if people say, oh, I love Trent Shelton, but my kids are like, I don't love my father, or my father is not here. Or, one of my biggest joys is being able to coach my son's football team. Like that's my biggest joy. I would rather do that than go speak on the stage in front of 5,000 people, because I know the seeds that I'm planting in my family's life will not just affect this generation, but also future generations. And so family is the glue that holds me together. And then fitness is everything for me. It's been a part of my life since I was probably like 5 years old, obviously with sports, but now even just moving my body. I always say movement influences mood. I actually told this to Tristan right before I got on here. I said, most people in this world, 99% of these people in this world, they depend on motivation to move, right? They don't move until they're motivated. They don't start something until they're motivated. I said a rare breed, a person that's the 1%, a legendary person, they know that I need to move to create the motivation. And so for me, fitness is that for me. It's my release from stress. It's my mental, it builds up my mental toughness. all of these things that really carry me through, not just how I look, but also internally, that is the biggest benefit that helps me with the mindset, the championship mindset that I have to be able to conquer through hard times, to be able to conquer through business, to be able to conquer and take my life to the next level.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, everybody in dark times, like I said before, they think, this is it, but you have a choice. Are you going to be that person that lets your pain and your choices, move you in a worse position when you hit adversity? Are you going to be that person that, sucks it up and says, you know what, like right now, times are tough. This sucks. I honestly don't even really like myself right now, but I'm going to do whatever I can to ensure myself that I'm a better version of myself in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now than I am today, and doing whatever it takes. Because, there's two options. You can either, it sucks, not making these tough decisions. It sucks to have regret in life and be like, I wish I would have changed. It also sucks to continue to sit in that pain and be around people you shouldn't be around, doing things you shouldn't be doing, and not living your purpose. And I know for you, I've heard you talk so much about, which I 100% agree with, about environment and your inner circle, and how, everybody who's in your circle might not be in your corner. And you had to let go of friends, which for me was one of the toughest things I ever had to do, was let go of old friends that aren't bad people. I still keep in touch with some, but they just weren't going where I was going. I lost common interests, and I grew in a different direction. So talk a bit about like the process you went through, and if somebody's listening and they're kind of struggling to decide if somebody should stay in their life, like how you can kind of do that.
Yeah. It's tough. Like you said, it's tough to let go of relationships and friendships. I always say, it's easy to remove people from your life that are toxic, like that, it's a lot. I shouldn't say easy, but it's easier. But it's hard when it's good people. But you have to understand this. Just because they're a good person doesn't mean they're good for you. And that's something I had to realize in my life. And I had to ask myself this magic question, right? Mindsets are contagious. Do I want to catch the mindset that they have, that my friend has, that the person that's in my environment has, that my partner has? Like, do I want to catch the mindset? And if I say no, then I have to do the work to remove myself from that environment, no matter how difficult, no matter how hard it may be. So to the people listening to this, one of the easiest exercises to do is to look at every relationship. And you can do this with habits. You can do this with, people, just every relationship. Look at it as a bridge, right? And ask yourself, where is this bridge leading me to, right? Is this bridge leading me to a greater version of myself? Is it leading me to, better in my life? Is it holding me accountable? Or is it leading me to a lesser version of myself? And if your answer is a lesser version of yourself, you have to burn that bridge. And I know it's like taboo to say that, right? Don't burn bridges. I agree, right? To an extent. You shouldn't burn bridges over small misunderstandings or anything like that. But there's certain bridges you have to burn because there's certain things your life cannot afford to go back to, like, period. And so I knew that if I was in that environment around certain people, I didn't have the strength to be able to have the self-control. So I knew I could not place myself here. And it was hard. Some friends turned their back. Some friends said certain things. But you know what's funny about it, Doug? Like a lot, maybe not all, but probably 80% of my friends that I said, hey, I'm moving on with my life. And the conversation was this, like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing that you're doing necessarily, but this is where I'm going. I got a son now. Like, this is where I'm taking my life. I refuse to settle anymore. So you have a choice. You can go with me or you get left behind. But I promise you, I'm not putting pause on my life for anybody, because I refuse to look back when I'm 80 years old and realize I lived my whole entire life settling because I was trying to make people comfortable. I don't want to live life like that. I mean, that's the number one regret. Look it up. Number one regret is people, when they're about to die, they really wish that they lived their life more for themselves, like did the things that they wanted to do. And that puts a lot of fear in my heart. I don't want to get to 80 years old and realize, like, dang, like I wasted all of my life because I was afraid to have a conversation, or I was afraid to make a decision or a choice. And so that's helped me be able to move forward. And a lot of those friends now, whether it's 5 years ago or 1 month ago, they're hitting me up and say, Trent, like, I didn't get what you were doing then, but I understand it, because now they have kids, or now they're more mature. And now they're asking me questions about how can I better my life? And so sometimes it takes you being the leader to step away from that environment, to create a new environment, not just to benefit yourself, but to benefit also those people when they're ready to change.
Yeah, and I think that's the toughest thing is knowing that, not becoming codependent on their decision and what they think of you, because it's your life and we only get one. And if somebody's not bringing the best out on you and your interests change and they're not supporting what you're doing, they're going to hold you back and you're going to end up living for somebody else. And when you end up living for somebody else, you don't end up living for yourself, which at the end of the day is what we all want anyway. We all want to be happy, fulfilled, successful, whether people want to admit it or not. Everybody wants that, right? But I think so many people are scared. And in your book, Straight Up, which by the way was amazing. I know it's geared more towards I think it's the 18 to 25 range. I think I've heard you say something like that. But I mean, I'm 32. I read it. And the lessons in there, not only are they game changing, they're so easily applicable and it's straight up like this. When you hear straight up and then someone tells you a piece of advice, you better listen, right? One of the things that really hit home with me is you're never going to win life's war by running from life's battles or something along those lines. Why do you think so many people run from their pain and their problems?
Because, and that's a part of the rehab process, right? I have a 3-part process of rehab time. And the first one is reality. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to face your reality because, for whatever reason, maybe it's you got to have a hard conversation. Sometimes we want to stay blind to what we actually see because, we don't want to go through that emotional pain, that emotional journey. So we'd rather just sweep it under the rug as if it doesn't exist than actually deal with it. But we all know the truth. No matter what you hide, whether it's from social media or whether it's from people around you, you're never going to hide it from yourself. You're always going to have to deal with it. It's always going to be controlling your internal self. And I like to say you put yourself in an invisible prison, right? It's like you're like in a prison without being behind bars. And so the quote, "You will never win your war by running from your battles," is that a lot of times, right, our war is, whatever it is. Maybe it's you want to be, some type of entrepreneur, right? You want to do this, you want to do that. That's the big picture. But oftentimes we don't want to take care of the small things we need to take care of. I can say I want to be an NFL football player, right? But if I know that I'm lazy, if I know that I don't have the discipline and I'm ignoring that, I'm never going to win that war by running from those battles. And so you can apply that to anything in your life. Once you face it, then you'll find the courage and the strength to be able to fix it. But I'll tell you this, you'll never be able to fix what you're not willing to face. And I've always realized in my life that the things that were hard to face ended up being the things that were most rewarding once I did it. It freed me, even if it was a conversation with somebody that I didn't want to have, because I'm not a confrontational person. I try to avoid confrontation. It does something to my spirit having to do it, but I don't want to live with that. I would rather deal with it and deal with the consequences that come with it and get on the other side of it. And so you're never going to get to the other side, if you're not willing to go through it and face the things that need to be faced.
Yeah, because so many people push their pain away and they push the adversity to the side thinking that that's going to get rid of it. But wherever you go, there you are. It comes with you no matter what. And in the next relationship, in the next job, wherever you go. And people aren't patient enough to see the blessings in the storms. They're not patient enough to see the joy that comes because you develop strength, you develop courage, you develop wisdom. New people come in your life that are walking alongside you that you never would have had you have pushed that away. And I think at the end of the day, it's the people who have the courage and the audacity to kind of sit in that pain and get through it can not only help themselves, but they can help others. And one of the things that you're so amazing at is being authentic and sharing your story. And I know it was really healing for you when you started rehab time to just share. Talk about what that did for you as far as being able to share your message and helping others and being of service, and how that kind of, inspired your transformation as well.
Yeah, your transparency will lead to your transformation. Something that I preach often, and your transparency will lead to other people's transformation. And the thing, even to this day, because I believe that we're all on a lifelong journey of healing. I don't know if we ever get to the point where we're healed,
right.
completely. I think we're on a lifelong journey. And every single time, even moments like this, right, having a podcast episode to be able to talk to somebody about my story, it still blows my mind because I vividly remember 2008, 2009, like not knowing where my life was going to be. We just came back from Seattle and I had a moment there where I'm like, man, like I'm actually in the same place where I didn't mind ending my life in Lake Washington. Like, and I'm here now, my life has completely changed. And so the reason I say all of that is that when you go serve and you give your story, right, or you give the things you learn from your story and someone else benefits from it, it brings healing to your soul because you start to realize, like, wait a minute, dang, I didn't just go through that for no reason. There was a greater purpose than the pain I was experiencing. Because we often think purpose is just for us, but no, purpose is to use our life, our story, our experiences to help other people. You know, it qualifies you. And so I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for the things that I went through, right? I'm an expert or whatever people will say. No, I just been through a lot of stuff. I've dealt with a lot of stuff. And I say, you know what? I'm not going to keep this for me and be selfish. I'm going to give this to the world to make sure somebody else doesn't make the same mistake. Or if they're in this situation, they can know that they can put a semicolon instead of a period. Their life isn't over. Maybe that chapter is over, but something else is beginning. So if somebody's listening to this right now, I want to say this, because I know we struggle with depression. I know right now, mental health, everything, right? It's all-time stress, anxiety, all these things are happening more than ever in 2020. One of the things that I do when I'm going through these moments, and it kind of relates to what we've been talking about, is at times when and I'm going to be transparent, there's times where I feel like this, where I feel like, man, I'm not doing enough, man. Like, I'm not feeling valuable. You know, it's a mind thing, you know, and when I'm feeling like that, this is what I do. I go serve. Because as soon as I serve, whether it be me going into my DMs, whether it be going on live, I'm going to get a message that says, Trent, your book, your video, your words have helped me. You might say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, if you don't feel valuable, there's no way people can get value from your life, right? You cannot give what you don't have. And as soon as someone gets value from your story, that should verify to you that you have value inside of you. And so every time I'm feeling like that, I go serve and it changes my mind state just like that.
Gosh, man, that gave me goosebumps, gave me the chills because, you know, it's funny. I mean, there's so many parallels in our story. Like I said before we hopped on, 2008, 2009 was when I was at rock bottom. That's when I was incarcerated. I went in October of 2008 and got out the day after Christmas of 2008. When I was in there, you know, I couldn't do a push-up for my knees, couldn't do one for my feet. And my cellmate, you know, trained me in there. But, you know, the only thing he asked was just for me to be consistent and show up every day, which I did, thankfully. And I was able to ascend 10 push-ups and run a mile by the time I left. And it completely shifted my mindset. And I felt like I had purpose in my life. I felt like there was purpose in the pain. And I remember saying to him, and you'll understand where I'm going with this, I said, how can I ever repay you? And he's like, don't mess up and pay it forward. And I didn't know what pay it forward meant. You know, I just literally only been in jail for a few months and been off drugs for, you know, barely, I mean, not even 90 days. And he was just like, just pay it forward. Gave me a workout routine that I still have framed in my place. So I never forget where I came from. And then I became on a mission to share my story once I lost weight, once I started to get a job as a personal trainer, because I was like, wow, like there's so much empowerment in sharing. And then like, there's a lot of, when you own your past and you're not ashamed of it, it takes the power away from your mistakes. Because you're like, wow, like I'm able to take all these things that I am not proud of. I'm not proud of the people I manipulated. I'm not proud of selling drugs. I'm not proud of any of that. I'm proud of what it gave me. It gave me purpose. It gave me hope. It gave me a platform to share my message so that other people don't have to go like through what I went through. And there's a lot of people right now, they're in a bad chapter of their life, whether it was affected by the pandemic, whether they're addicted to drugs, whether they just got out of, you know, a bad relationship. What advice do you give somebody when they're kind of like, you know what, like, how am I going to get out of this hole and get to somewhere where I'm actually like happy with who I am?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to my mind, if you're in a situation where you feel like, you know, tomorrow People say give tomorrow a shot, and you feel like, man, I've gave a lot of tomorrow's chances, and every single day is just feel like it's filled with more pain. I'm going to tell you this. Oftentimes we're focusing on the wrong things, right? Oftentimes we're focusing on ourselves. And when we focus on ourselves and we keep ourselves isolated, then we oftentimes feel like, there's nothing more to our life. So when I was at my rock bottom, one of the things that really helped me was realizing that my pain wasn't special, because I thought my pain was special. I thought it was just for me. And when I started to research and talk to people and ask for help, I started to realize, like, wait, there's so many other people that's been through worse than me. There's so many people literally that would be praying to be in my shoes. The things that I'm complaining about, they would be praying to be here. So I changed my mindset, and I found, and as crazy as it sounds, I know somebody listens to us like, Trent, how can I find appreciation at my rock bottom? I found appreciation for my life. I found appreciation for everything, because I knew with faith, I had to tap into my faith that something greater was going to come because of this. Whether it was my plans, which it wasn't, or it was God's plans for my life, something greater was going to come because of this. And I just focused on what I could control. I said, okay, I want to get 1% better today. 1%. I'm not trying to make some major change. And that's the thing oftentimes, Doug. We want to like these major things to happen in our life. And let's be honest. Major changes don't always happen by doing major things, right? It's oftentimes the small things that we can fix, the little bitty tweaks that end up making major changes for our life. And so I ask myself, what's in my control? Like, because you can't control something that's out of your control. We often live there, right? We often live in the things we can't control, we can't do anything about. But what's in my control? And mine was, okay, mind, body, and soul. The simplest things. I started to read. Right? I started to read, and I wasn't a reader at all. I hated reading. I started to read because I knew in order to obtain knowledge I didn't have, I had to pick up a book or listen to a book these days. The second thing is I knew I had to dive deeper in my faith. I was like, if I'm going to find a way to get through this storm, I have to strengthen my faith. So I got into my word. And the third thing was fitness, right? The body part. I said, you know what? I know that if I could take myself to another level in any area of my life, I can prove to myself that I'm capable to do it, right? To show myself that it's possible. So for you watching this or listening to this, just show yourself it's possible. I don't care what it is that you do. Just show yourself that it's possible, because when you build the, as I like to call it, the possibility muscle, it becomes contagious. And it starts to go down a stream of like, okay, I've done this. Let me do this. Let me do this. And you look back 5 years later, 5 months later, and realize, like, wait a minute, I've accomplished a lot even at my rock bottom. And so for me, it was really just taking responsibility over my life and saying it all starts with you. Either this is going to be the end of your life or it's going to be the end of your chapter. You choose. And that just fired me up, man, to focus on the small things I could control. And it changed my life.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, everybody needs to hear that. And it doesn't matter what you're going through, because it's such great advice that can not only will get you through adversity you're going through now, but if you face anything in the future. And I think what happens is we end up focusing so much on what we can't control that we lose sight of what we can control. And we're looking at, like, you know, whether somebody's going to like us, or, you know, whether we're going to get that job, or whether we're going to get the interview, or whatever it is that we can't control. And we lose sight of our fitness and, you know, people that are close to us that matter, and, you know, our ability to read and prayer and all those things. And, you know, some of your videos go completely viral and get hundreds of millions of views, including, you know, the one, I think it was with Annie, right? About not everyone's your friend. And then you had the one with Tristan about how to heal his life with 5 things. It was, I believe, like commitment, discipline, consistency, faith, and heart. Do those videos for you, do you get more goosebumps like doing those because it involves somebody close to you?
Absolutely. You know, Annie is my sister-in-law. So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people don't know that, but that's my sister-in-law. And the videos that we do, obviously they're not in real time, but they're real situations. And it's things that, you know, we've had conversations about. So I'm always asking, like, hey, let's bring this to the world, because there are a lot of people that's probably going through the same thing. And then with Tristan, you know, being able to, you know, help teach him in real time and share it, and also having other kids see it and be like, man, and like, just the feedback I get, like, I'm gonna be just totally real. Like, my most like proudest thing, that's even the word, feedback that I get from my content is when a parent says, my child, my daughter, like, wasn't into any of this stuff. Like, they didn't want to hear anything. They were hurting. They were dealing with things at school, but they watch those videos and it's really helped their life. Like, I love adults. I love inspiring adults, obviously, but when you can touch the youth, that's when you can change the future. So that always hits me in my heart when people say, man, like, I needed that video. And yeah, those are real moments. You know, it's just not in real time, but we reenact those moments. But those are real moments and real conversations that, you know, whether it's Annie or Tristan or whoever, they dealt with it either during that time we recorded or previously.
Yeah, I mean, those videos, and I'm sure have a special place in your heart because they involve, you know, people that are close to you. And while it might not be, you know, real time, it's like reenacting real life situations. And I so relate to when you get parents talking about the kids. I mean, my big thing is that, you know, I've been in recovery now for almost 12 years, and I get a lot of parents, like moms, who reach out to me about their kids, whether they saw me on a podcast or, you know, was something I did in other media or read one of my books. And it really touches my heart because I gave my mom like headache after headache from being addicted to drugs when I was a teenager, and now being able to pay it back and pay it forward and serve and help these moms talk to their kids or help these kids and mentor them. You know, I get so much joy out of that. And I got to tell you, like, I follow a lot of personal development people. I've seen a lot of people speak, and you're by far, you know, up there with the most motivational. Do you ever watch your videos and be like, damn, that was good? Do you ever like go back and be like, gosh, man, I'm fired up. I'm going to go run through a wall.
Man, you know what's funny is for so long I never did. Like,
Yeah.
I never watched it. And then like probably the last year or so, I started to do that. Like, I would listen to myself because it would be times that I needed to listen to my own words. I would listen and I would be like, dang, like, this is like, I get it. Like, this is really touching my heart. And sometimes, you know, when you're in it, it's hard to feel it. I tell people all the time, like, when you're in something, it's hard to feel even the magnitude of, like, you know, what you're doing and how you're impacting people. And honestly, I believe that's worked best for me because, you know, I never get into the place of like, oh, this many views or this many whatever.
Right.
It's just hard to feel it. But yeah, man, like, to answer your question, there's times I listen to my videos and like, man, I needed that. I need to hear that. Thanks for the reminder, Trent.
I know, it's funny, man, because it's just whenever I see you post a video and I'm just like everybody else, they're like, man, I'm going to learn something today. I'm going to get a nugget. I probably needed to hear whatever it is that he's saying. And the advice is just, it's so practical and easy. And like when you read it, it's not like anything that doesn't, there's no way it can't resonate with anyone just because of the fact that of how real you are with it. And it's how your book is. You have all these lessons in straight up. So talk a bit about the book, like what inspired you to write it and what people can get out of it.
Yeah, man. So straight up, you know, I love The Greatest You, you know, but if I had to pick a favorite book right now, it's just straight up because, you know, one, what inspired me to write it is I wanted to write a book that was like super tangible. Like, I wanted it to feel like, man, like, okay, I can pick it up and I know I'm not going to have to read through 1 million pages to find something. Like, I can pick it up, I can read something, I can apply it, I can do an exercise literally within 5 minutes every single day. And I was thinking about youth when I wrote it. Because I asked them on my Snapchat at that time, I was like, hey, would you guys read a book? And they were like, no, unless it was like this. So I said, okay, I have to make it where there's no excuses, where even my son Tristan at 11 years old can pick it up and really listen and read it and apply, and it makes sense. And then the other thing was, I just remember growing up, man, like not having people, and I had people who kept it real, like my parents, whatever, but just not just having that straight up talk, like, not the consequences of why you don't do something. Like, even from, you know, having sex before married, you know, the consequences that can come with that. You know, when you're like, of course, don't do this or don't do drugs, but they don't say like, this is how much it's going to cost you, right? Even financially, if you do this, or it can cost you your dream. So I needed that in my life. Like, just the upfront, straight up talk. And that was the other motivation behind it, man. And when I wrote this book, I wanted it to feel like, as I like to say, video me. Like where you felt like, I feel like this is a video. And some of the content in there is directly from my video. And so I wanted it to grab you like that. And I feel like, you know, from the feedback I've gotten that, you know, people are saying that. So I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, I appreciate how easy it is to digest. Like it's just like a few pages each chapter, and it's not like you said, like a 700-page book. And it's got a practical component too. You got the whole like, you know, coach talk rehab time thing at the end of each chapter where you're able to kind of put people through the different exercises from each chapter. And it's broken down into different sections too, which I think makes it easily applicable too, because you're like, all right, here's part 1 on pain and part of relationships and heart, like all these different things that you're purpose, and that you're able to kind of like figure out like, okay, like maybe today I want to read the section on purpose. Maybe today I'm really struggling in my relationships. Let's work on that. So, yeah. You know, I've heard you talk about like right now, obviously with what you do and speaking and everything, that, you know, you've had to pivot a lot. And I'm sure just like everything else, it's increased like your stress. Like, what are you doing to kind of keep yourself stable so that you're able to kind of continue to serve and give at the capacity you're doing?
Yeah, man. So I am protecting my peace first and foremost.
I love that.
So I'm always in nature. I mean, people see it every single day, nature heals, and, you know, I'm always on the trails, and, you know, that's a big thing for me every single day. You know, of course I have a rest day where, you know, I'll rest or I'll just walk, but I have to get out and disconnect and just remind myself and reconnect to my soul. That's what protecting your peace is all about for me. And then it's about finding appreciation in everything. It's about looking at this year and saying, okay, I know in my life that it wasn't perfection that created something that was great. It was me going through hard times and obstacles and challenges. And so I've changed my mindset to see this year as an opportunity, not an obstacle, or not a negative obstacle, should I say. And so I've been able to already, you know, make certain hires in my company that I wouldn't have made if it wasn't for this. I've been able to step back and kind of reevaluate my content and where I want to go. And then too, it's just a beautiful season in my life for my family. And I feel like we all have these seasons where, you know, it's been a season where I'm not on the road. I'm able to coach my son's football team, which is a great getaway and escape for me every single day. I'm able to be here with my kids, especially my baby girl, Marley, which, you know, she's about to be a year, but I've been able to actually be here and spend time. And I'm always conscious of that anyway, but now I'm getting to actually like be very, very present, which is totally cool. So I'm just looking at the blessings and everything, man. And I know in 2021, 2030, whatever, I'm gonna look back and be like, yeah, 2020 sucked in a way, but it created a lot of great stuff that I'm grateful and thankful for.
Yeah, I mean, perspective is everything, right? I know you talk a lot about perspective. You can either look at it as a blessing or a curse. You can look at it from all the time you got to work on yourself, heal yourself, work on your health, spend more time on projects you didn't have time for, you know, maybe save some money from not traveling or whatever the case may be, instead of looking at all the bad things that happen, because, you know, there's so much negativity out there, and negativity breeds negativity. If you want to go find negative stuff, you'll find it. And it's all about what you read, you know, what you watch, what you listen to. And we have control over that, just like we have control over what we eat. So the last thing I want to ask you is this, is I'm sure you get a lot of people that come up to you when they see you out or even on social media about how inspiring you are. Like, imagine you have, you know, 2 minutes with somebody who's going through a really dark time. You know, what's the straight up advice you're giving them?
Yeah, I'm going to tell them that their life isn't over. I'm going to tell the person that's going through that time that you have a choice, right? You can put a period at the end of your life sentence right now, or you can put a semicolon. And I think God is always trying to get us to put a semicolon. Yeah, this chapter might be over, the season might be over, the relationship might be over, the job might be over, but your life isn't over. And you have more to your story, and you are the author of your story. The pen is in your hand. So stop allowing circumstances, stop allowing comparison, stop allowing whatever it is to take the pen and write your story. Like, gain your power back, grab that pen and write it. And just know everything is working for your good. Yes, your plans have to fail so the purpose for your life can prevail. Yes, things have to go wrong, quote unquote, so everything can go right. You have to lose certain things to gain better things. And when you operate in a power perspective, when you understand this, and I'll leave with this, when you understand how you see life is how you feel about life. How you feel about life is what you will do with your life. What you do with your life is what you'll get from your life. And when you realize it all breaks down, the root thing is how you're seeing life, either as an opportunity, either as a challenge, either as a blessing, as a gift, as a curse. It's gonna filter down to what you get from life. So start seeing everything as power, start seeing everything as appreciation, and start seeing everything as growth, and watch your life change internally. And that's what matters most.
Man, amen to that. I mean, I feel like that was just something, if I could just capture and just, play it every morning when I wake up, I feel like I'd never have a bad day, and there's so much truth to what you just said. And I think so many people, they have a bad chapter in life. They take the pen or pencil and they throw it down the sewer drain and say, you know what, it's over. And really, like, everybody loves a comeback story. Everybody loves when they see that person overcome that mountain they never thought that they could overcome. Everybody loves seeing that person that was doubted and defeated and drained come back and win. And I really appreciate your time today. I know it's valuable. And I just wanted to thank you again. The audience can get a lot out of this. So if they want to find you, it's at Trent Shelton on Instagram, and then trentshelton.com with your books and everything. And if they want to, potentially reach out to you about speaking and stuff, it's all there, right?
Yes, sir. Just any social media site, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram is at Trent Shelton, and and also text message community. So I have that. If you want to reach out and text me, 817-242-2719, and I'm spending a lot of time in there and doing a lot of cool things for that community.
Awesome. And you also got the Straight Up podcast too, right?
Yeah, I almost forgot about it.
Sound good.
Yeah, Straight Up podcast every Wednesday, and it's just me being straight up.
Sweet. So I will make sure to put all that stuff in the show notes. And for those listening, this has been one of the greatest episodes that I've done, because I've been following Trent for so long, and his content has inspired me, and being able to break bread with him and talk to him has been a blessing. And I think it's going to be a blessing for y'all too, to take his advice. It's so simple, yet easily effective and efficient. So if you love this episode, all that we ask is that you share it, screenshot that you're listening to this, tag Trent, tag myself, and just let us know what you thought of the episode, because we love hearing your feedback. And again, if this touched your heart, we always appreciate your review, 5-star, of course, if you can. And we'll see you next time. So once again, you're listening to this episode of The Adversity Advantage. I'm your host, Doug Bopst, and we will see you next time. They have some self-awareness. They're continuing to work on themselves. I notice that that's becoming more of who I am too. And when I am feeling down or I'm having rough days, my community is there to kind of help pull me out of the water a little bit.
I love it.
Do you agree that, like, when it comes to, trying to beat whatever it is or get through some tough times in life, that your inner circle and who you have closest to you is extremely important?
It's everything. Yeah, it's everything. And we are all designed to lean on each other like sticks in a teepee, man. And you pull one of those out, the whole thing falls over.
Yeah, I agree.
And here's the thing: we feel like we scroll through all day, and we've got we got 1,000 friends on the internet, and nobody to help us move. Right? We don't have real friends anymore. We've got a lot of pseudo communication partners, but we don't have connected people, man. And yeah, it's this insane drive to be busier and to accomplish and to achieve, and hey, what's up, look at your pictures, look at my pictures. And that is not connection, brother. That's not.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we have created this environment that we're so concerned with likes and comments and shares, and look at me on social media.
It's not real, dude. It's just not real. It's so weird. It's like living in a video game. It's not real.
Yeah, and it's not. And what it's doing is, it's creating a lot of comparison issues, right? And a lot more trauma, because now you're bullying yourself really on social media sometimes, when you're like talking down to yourself because you don't have a nicer car, or you don't have a nicer house, or whatever. And then it's like limiting our ability to have like deep, meaningful relationships, because we're so used to being consumed with our phone. And so as we kind of I know we got a few more minutes together, I kind of want to end in a more tactical thing. So I want you to imagine for a second that maybe I'm a client or a listener's a client and I have crazy anxiety, crazy fear right now going on because maybe, you know, I've lost a job, or maybe I've, you know, just gone through a time in my life where I'm extremely depressed and I'm just extremely like uncertain of what's going to come to me in the next few years. What kind of steps should I take? What kind of steps should that person take to kind of make sure they're coming out, you know, a better version of themselves versus the latter and falling in the depths of addiction?
I love it, dude. So here's a couple of things. Number one, the research is pretty clear that you start getting better the day you make a counseling appointment. And so not even seeing the therapist yet. And so I tell you that to tell you this: you start all of these conversations with, number one, a statement to yourself in a mirror: I want to get better and I will get better. That's one. And number two, if you absent those, you're wasting your time, man. Because if you think, I don't know, dude, that will eventually drag you down. The third thing is you got to look in the mirror and say, I'm a person of value. I'm worth getting better. And if you don't have those three things, dude, it's a waste of your time. Tactically speaking, it's important for me to write down my thoughts first and foremost. So when they start spinning, is to write them down. And that's just old school CBT lingo, but it's real quick that you have these, we're just loaded with these automatic thoughts, right? And so like, man, I was late again to work because I suck as an employee. I probably shouldn't even be working here. And right. And then you just end up all the way back down a slide to where you're 7 again. And so it's being able to catch yourself with those automatic thoughts. So I'm going to write them down. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to ask myself, fact or fiction. And is this real? Am I really a crappy employee? No, dude, I was late again. I need to get that right. But I'm not a bad guy. I'm not evil. I'm not stupid or whatever. We do that in our relationships. We do that at work. We do that everywhere, right? And then the third thing is really protecting and honoring our bodies. There's a lot of really remarkable research that's come out in the last few years. Matthew Walker is kind of leading the charge on this, that sleep goes first and then anxiety. It's not the other way around. I thought that I had all this shame and then I got anxiety and then I didn't sleep. And he says, no, brother, it doesn't work that way. You stop sleeping and then your brain stops processing things in the ways that it's designed to. And then all the alarms start sounding. And so there are things like sleep and eating well and exercising and taking care of this spaceship that we're on. That's real important. And then the fourth and most critical thing is connection. True, vulnerable relationships with God, with your community, with yourself. You can't do any of this stuff without true connection, man. It's a waste of time.
That's awesome, man. And what you just provided there, I think is going to save people a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, to be able to apply that stuff in their life. Sleep, obviously, is so important. And there's plenty of effective ways to improve your sleep, such as, you know, reducing screen time, you know, drinking some chamomile tea, you know, reading, journaling, all that stuff. Right. So I know, I'll let you go here. I know your time is valuable and I just want to thank you.
It's been a gift, man. Thanks for opening up. And man, it's been an honor for you to hear your journey, dude. That's a gift that you've been able to turn that corner. And now you're out there, putting more positive energy out in the world, which we desperately need, man. That's awesome. What a gift.
Trying, man. Just trying to be of service. Just trying to help other people, man. I appreciate what you're doing as well. So where can people find out more about you?
Just on the interwebs, at John Deloney. And yeah, that's it, man. At John Deloney on the Instagrams and the YouTubes and all that kind of stuff. And then I co-host the Dave Ramsey Show with Dave every Thursday, and then with Hogan and Anthony on Fridays. And we're having a good time doing that right now.
Sweet, man. Well, I love how like human you are. Like, I mean, you're the most human, one of the most human people I've met in the mental health space. As far as you're just like, it's just like talking to a regular person, which is great, because I think a lot of times people, they get intimidated when they're talking to somebody who's like a quote unquote therapist or has a psychology background, because they're like, oh gosh, are they going to grill me? So I appreciate the gift you have.
Dude, that's not a gift. I have a lot of buddies that wouldn't stand for it, man. Wouldn't stand for it. Yeah. No, it's good.
Well, cool. I'll make sure to plug all your contact info in the show notes. And once again, John, thank you so much for coming on here. And listeners, you know, if you love this episode, you know, please, you know, leave us a review, reach out to John, reach out to myself, and let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you, and just please take heed of John's advice and the advice he gave me. It's super important. Make sure that, you know, you're trying to apply that, and don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, if you're struggling, you're listening to this right now and you're having trouble, please raise your hand, ask for help, and look at yourself in the mirror and just believe that you can and will get better. So once again, thank you for listening to this episode of The Adversity Advantage. I'm your host, Doug Bopst, and